Hello and welcome to the first edition of Serious Business. I am your host, Sherese Bramble. At the beginning of each year, many of us make resolutions. We vow to be better versions of ourselves than we were in the previous year. We make empty assertions. I will be happier. I will make more money. I will get a better job. When the calendar turns a page, marking a new year, nothing magical happens. Time merely passes. Change only comes through commitment and hard work. Having said that, January is as good a time as any to start the process. For 2013, Antigua, I want you to change your thinking. I want you to open your minds to be more analytical. I want you to be fair. As many of you know, I am very passionate when it comes to fighting against discrimination and injustice against people in the LGBT community, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. On many occasions, I have voiced my strong feelings of disgust with the ignorant mindsets and hypocrisy held by many people in our population. For 2013, I would love to see positive forward movement in our fight. To achieve any of this, all of us must take a side in this battle. We can either side with the bigots, hypocrites, oppressors, or we can stand on the side of equality. To my genetic sisterhood, all of you who were born women, I salute you. I empathize with the thousands of you who are in relationships with these men who lie to you daily, who masquerade themselves as the epitome of masculinity. Do not be fooled by them. They are hens in cock's clothing. They spread their propaganda, calling people like me liars, telling you that we envy you and that we hate you. How can I hate a woman? You are my sister, my niece, my mother. I love you all. You are my greatest supporters. I have opened many of your eyes to this wicked secret lifestyle so many of you men live. Some of you love me for it. However, some of you join these deadly bisexual cowards and wish death on me. Do not hate me. I did not make your men gay. This is a time when all women must keep their eyes open and make room for any possibility. Do not comfort yourself by thinking that only men who don't want to work or only men who have been to jail engage in sex with men. Download men come in all shapes and forms and all social and cultural backgrounds. Some are refined and well educated, some are gangster and live in the ghetto. They come from Guyana, Jamaica, Barbados, Antigua. Some do it for love and some do it for the money. Rule no one out. Both biological women and non-biological women face a similar fight. We have to put up with the self-interest and the lies of these men on the down low. Since it has been my experience that the only loyalty these men have is to themselves. To the men of Antigua. Men of Antigua, why are you so empathetic to the plight of the bisexual man? It is so amazing to me that men who profess to be straight make statements like, if I were dealing with a gay and he recorded me, or if he told anyone about us, I would shoot him. Let's seriously analyze this statement. Why would a homophobic population of straight men show empathy to a man who is exposed for being bisexual? In case anyone in my audience does not know what empathy is, to be empathetic is to put yourself in someone's place because you have been there. How can a homophobic straight man have empathy with a closeted homosexual? It is not logical. I therefore suggest to you that many of you yourselves are in the closet and you fear being exposed at any time. Many of you that openly profess to hate gays drive around in their cars. You secretly lie in their beds at night. When you believe no one is looking, you pick them up in your cars and you drive to places unknown to get sexual gratification. One time I was in a discussion with this guy who claims to be straight. He said he didn't like me because he felt I ruined lives when I out them from the closet. He told me he wanted them to shoot me. Now this professed heterosexual man does not have a problem with other professed heterosexual men going with gay or bisexual or transgender men. The problem he has is when these people speak about it. You see, you liars are not admitting that there is at least one in every crew, every football team, every gang, every car crew. You men who call yourselves straight, hide for them and make excuses for them. You hypocrites don't have a problem with gays, only those who talk too much. To my lesbian brethren and sisterhood, I say congratulations. I salute you. Your courage and openness in your relationships. Many of you live in committed, monogamous relationships. Your male counterparts can learn a lot from you. We live in a society here in Antigua, which while there are thousands of gay men and bisexual men, very few choose to commit to one person. Instead, they seek instant gratification, a cheap thrill. Continue to lead from the front and to prove the strength of your gender to the church. When Jesus Christ walked the earth, although he did not oppose sin, he fought discrimination. When they found a woman in adultery and brought her to him, he exposed their hypocrisy with these profound words. Let he who is without fault first cast a stone. Many of you who preach the word of God use your pulpits intentionally and inadvertently to preach messages of intolerance. For this year, in drafting your messages to your congregation, make sure you preach tolerance, not hatred for persons who do not hold your worldview. Bear in mind that many of us are within your midst. Also, I never hear messages of condemnation when members of your flock are found in open scandals, such as molestation or corrupt political affiliations. Let he who is without fault cast a stone. In other parts of the world, Christians are also discriminated against and are even killed for worshiping Jehovah. An injustice to anyone is an injustice to everyone. To the powerful gay and lesbian community, you are the threads that hold the fabric of our society together. You hold powerful positions in every sphere of our society: banking, education, religion, the military forces, and in politics. As a matter of fact, there are at least two members in the lower house of parliament. You hold tremendous power, and you need to leverage it to stop the discrimination and injustices in our community. You need to stop being under the radar and to use your tremendous influence and power and to let your power be felt. To parents, I believe when any good parent brings a child into the world, he or she wants the best for them. You plan out their lives in your mind. Quite often our children do not live up to our expectations. I spoke to one friend of mine one time and asked her, if you found out your son was gay, what would you do? She replied, I would throw kerosene on him and light him. I say to you, Antigua, you have a lot of kerosene to buy. So many of your sons are involved in same-sex relationships. They wish they could be open about their sexual orientation. But how can they, when they have been raised to hide their true selves? Gay or bi, lesbian or straight, they are all your children. That is the reality. It cannot change. To the government, many Antiguan politicians claim to support Obama. I say to you, take a page out of President Barack Obama's book. In his 2008 inauguration speech, he expressed his wish for his gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender brothers and sisters to have the same rights as heterosexuals. Again in 2012, he reaffirmed his position by openly supporting marriage between two persons of the same gender. I know many of you in government and in opposition secretly would want to support such positions. However, you are afraid of committing political suicide. After all, we claim we are a Christian nation. However, I would suggest to you that we really only practice morality when it suits us. How many of our politicians commit adultery, having open affairs, and even having children with their mistresses? We even have those who have children out of wedlock and shack up with their lovers. Government has no business to legislate morality and to try and use its power to draft laws that discriminate against certain sections of the population. To this end, I suggest the government amends the sexual offences law. I want the Prime Minister to go to Parliament to amend the Sexual Offences Act to decriminalize acts of anal intercourse between consenting adults. Currently, as the law stands, it is a crime if a man commits this act with either a man or a woman. Although this law affects both gays and heterosexuals, it is clearly biased against gays for obvious reasons. This law has never really been enforced, but it is archaic and it is disrespectful to the LGBT community. I do not suggest that the law be repealed completely. If such acts are performed on minors or performed without the consent of both participants, then they should be criminal. Secondly, I would suggest that the government institute hate crime legislation. Many Antiguans have traveled the world. Some have lived in countries such as Canada, England, and the US for years. Yet it seems as if we import everything from the first world, but their respect for basic human rights. Most countries in North America and Europe have laws known as hate crime legislation that makes it a crime to discriminate against gays or commit violent acts against them. The United States agency, the FBI, defines a hate crime as a criminal offense committed against a person, property, or society which is motivated in whole or in part by the offender's bias against race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, or ethnicity. The time has come for us to take this important step. We are all God's children. Thirdly, I want the government to institute policies to recognize transgenders in schools and the workplace. In the United States, men and women and adolescents who have undergone transition from one gender to another are protected by federal laws in their workplace and schools. In Antigua, the concept of a transsexual is not new. For decades, gay men and lesbians have transitioned. I'm sure each one of us can remember that butch female truck driver that felt she was more macho than Rambo, or that flamboyant shopkeeper that let people call him Miss. Some of us find it repulsive, especially for a man changing into a woman. Some people find it amusing. However, this is not a joke. The right for an individual to choose his or her gender is a right as inalienable as the right to free speech. Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 in the United States prohibits sex discrimination in employment. According to the US-based organization National Center for Transgender Equality, in recent years, courts have increasingly held that discrimination because an employee or job applicant is transgender or non-gender conforming, or because he or she fails to conform to gender stereotypes is sex discrimination under Title 7. The Civil Service Reform Act of 1978 prohibits discrimination by the federal government on the basis of conduct which does not adversely affect the performance of an applicant or employee. Pursuant to the June 17, 2009 memorandum by President Obama, the Office of Personnel (OPM) has issued guidance clarifying that protection includes gender identity and being transgender. Also, according to the National Council for Transgender Equality, there is also Title IX, which is a federal law prohibiting discrimination in schools. Courts and federal agencies have concluded that discrimination because a person is transgender or non-conforming constitutes sex discrimination. Any public school that accepts federal funds has to abide by this regulation. The United States and other countries have taken significant steps to protect all of their people from discrimination regardless of who they are. Let's take a leaf out of their book. To the police. Many policemen and women are committed to the task of fighting crime and do their job without discrimination. However, there is a rogue group among you with hidden agendas that have biases against gay and transgender people. This should not be, since many of our brothers and sisters, our gay brothers and sisters, are in the police force and in the military. That is a reality. You must send strong messages to the person who commits such a crime against this section of the population that it will not be tolerated. Do not try to be cool and fit in with the criminals. People of Antigua, it is time for us to face reality. Men do have sexual relationships with other men. They are our sons. They are your brothers. They are your husbands. Accept them and love them. This is Sherese Bramble, and I approve this message.